Hi, my name is Audrey and I'm influenced by everybody around me. So here's a hot take. Geez, have not read any of these. That one was fantastic. The way that I talk about how lost I am in life, stop it, Audrey. The roof on fire. That felt very Wonder Woman of me. What is happening? You all are probably like, wow, her book is going to be terrible. I don't even know what it's about at this point. I don't even care. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter A Converse and welcome to the floor, which means you know one of two things. I'm either hauling books or I'm unhauling books, and today we are hauling books, which you would already know by the title of this video. So, I want to preface this by saying it looks worse than it is, / it looks bad. Generously gifted a bunch of books, placed a lot of pre-orders, and then, you know, gave in to my bookish desires and bought a whole bunch of books. So, I don't know the last time I did a book haul. This feels like the books I haven't talked about yet, so we're just going to get into them in no particular order, and I'll let you know all the details. I'm going to sit here and say, like, I'm not going to tell you, like, what every single book is about, but when you catch me telling you, I'm sorry. Just apologizing in advance. Okay, book number 1. Again, in no particular order, other than the piles where they are on the floor, is Lisa Jewell's Breaking the Dark. This is the UK edition of the book because I liked that cover better, because I'm just me like that. And who knew? This is going to come up a couple times. End Papers Extraordinaire. UK does it so well. I haven't read it yet. I had a big, I talked big game with Kate from Book Wild about Big Book Summer, and this was one of my Big Book Summer contenders. So we'll see. Summer's not over yet. We've got plenty of time. We got a lot of bingo left to play. So this is her first in the Marvel universe. So several authors are writing Marvel books. This is Jessica Jones, and she is a private eye in New York, winds up going to the UK to look into some strange missing children, or like children went to go visit their father and came back not quite right. So we'll see. I've heard fantastic things. I'm a massive Lisa Jewell fan. There you have it. Okay, next up is a book I have read. So I pre-ordered Such a Bad Influence by Olivia Mentor. I really feel like maybe I've shown you this, but what I know I for sure haven't shown you, because I had a whole Instagram thing planned and I just haven't done it yet because, you know, life. So pre-ordered this, had the arc of it, totally loved it. Dark side of sort of the aftermath of someone who grows up on a family influencer, like YouTube channel, that whole universe. Like what happens to the child in those when she's suddenly a teenager and one of the most influential Instagrammers? We find out. In the case of this book, when the book opens, she disappears while doing a live in the middle of a parking lot, and her older sister, who has put up her hand at this entire influencer life, comes back and has to figure out what happened to her sister. But pre-ordered this, love Olivia. She is one of the co-hosts of Bad on Paper. She's just fantastic all around. And she did a pre-order campaign. So you got a bookmark, you got a signed book plate, which I still need to put in the book, but again, had plans to make a video. And then she did these Taylor Swift-esque friendship bracelets, and it says Bad Influence on it. I feel like you're not going to be able, that felt very Wonder Woman of me. Not going to be able to see it, but how fun, right? So not only is it great to support authors that you love because supporting them helps them, but sometimes you get free fun stuff. Also, kind of a cool end paper. It's like cracked, it looks like. So this is like the cracked blush on the front, so it looks like more cracked makeup on the inside. Anyway, love it, love her, love the book. I'm going to make 2 piles, books I've read and books I haven't. Okay, 1000% haven't read this one yet. This was a pre-order. I saw the Keywords Special Edition, which is my catnip. This is the new Lucy Foley book, the new Lucy Foley book, The Midnight Feast. Also the UK edition, because they had a special edition and I wanted to get it because I'm me. What I didn't realize, because who knew, not only is it this stunning cover, like the naked cover with all the flames. I haven't read this book yet. Naked cover with all the flames. End paper of kind of in the forest with the trees, or in the forest for the trees. Can't see the forest for the trees. It's also autographed. I keep moving my face, which I didn't even know it was going to be. So how fun is that? Gorgeous cover, autographed, beautiful end papers. Living for this, and it says collector's edition, which is just super cool. So welcome to the manor. The party's on fire. Isn't that a song where it's like the roof on fire? I feel like it is. Anyway, I'll let you know when I read it. I still need to read The Paris Apartment, but we are not here to judge. We are here to talk about our love of books. So, another one in the haven't read pile. Next up, haven't read yet, is The Widow on Dwyer Court by Lisa Kusel. Friend of the channel. I was gonna say friend of the pod. This is not a pod, this is a channel. So this is Lisa's newest book, which I pre-ordered, and I need to read it because A, I've heard amazing things about it, and B, I totally want to. So this says, perfect for fans of Kirsten Modgelin's The Arrangement. The Widow on Dwyer Court is a sexy psychological thriller that will leave you breathless. This is the one, I talked about it when it came out. This was a July new release, that we have the married couple who he can kind of step out on her as long as he tells her all the details. And she's like a secret, steamy romance writer, and I think kind of uses his infidelity in her books. And then there's a new neighbor in town. So, Secrets and Lies, fantastic stuff. Okay, next up, gifted to me from Berkley is You Will Never Be Me by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is her new adult thriller. So she writes cross genres, cross age ranges. I absolutely love her. By the time you guys see this, this will be out in the universe. I loved this book. Like capital L, capital O, capital VED. Loved this book. So square in my wheelhouse. I was obsessed with I'm Not Done With You Yet, which was her adult thriller debut that came out last year. So I would say I had very high expectations for this. This exceeded them in spades. The characters in this, just all of it. Another influencer book. These are two momfluencers who used to be best friends and now are basically enemies, and man, does stuff go down between these ladies. It is perfection. Perfection in a book. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I will continue to scream about this book for now until the end of time. Okay, another book I loved, bought this one myself. This is What Happened to Nina by Dervla McTiernan. So she was one of the moderators at one of the panels on Thriller Fest. She had been on my radar last year for The Murder Rule, which I haven't read, but I was curious about. But she was talking about kind of her feelings about the Ton of French book in the woods while she was moderating the panel, which kind of made me love her more and go, I need to read her immediately. So when I was trying to decide which one of her books to get, this is her newest. It came out last year, but this is her latest release. This is a missing girl story, which I've kind of been reading a bit of lately. Stay tuned. You'll see it when we get here. So in this one, we have Nina and Simon are the perfect couple, young, fun, deeply in love, until they leave for a weekend at his family's cabin in Vermont, and only Simon comes home. So what happened to Nina? We get the points of view of the parents, which I thought was very interesting. This is definitely a how far would you go for your child, and kind of the dynamic between Nina's mom, who was desperate to find her daughter, and Simon's mom, who's like, real sorry that happened, but like, don't come looking at us. We didn't have anything to do with it. So the search for their child, protecting their child, and this is definitely Dark Betty. I loved it, but this was super dark, like darker than I was expecting, I feel like in some ways, but I loved it. Such a talented writer. I would say like moderately bleak, not rabbit hole bleak, but moderately bleak. I'm also having another one of those weird deja vus that I've already talked about this book, but that's okay. It deserves second talkings. It deserves second talkings. Okay, let's balance out my piles with some books I haven't read. The next one I have is The Memo. This is by Rachel Dodes and Lauren Meshlin. I talked about this. I want to say this was also a July release, and I was cruising my Barnes & Noble, and I saw that it was out early, and I tend to have this like instant gratification desire, or like feel like I'm like getting away with something when I get a book before the pub day. I don't know, like I feel like I'm cheating the system in like a completely legitimate way because it was out on the shelf. I haven't read it yet, but that's okay, because there is another book in here that kind of gives me a similar vibe of the I love a reboot of your life, a starting over, a clean slate, a fresh look. I love someone who is lost and doesn't know what to do, doesn't know which way to turn, and is trying to figure out the what next. I feel like I live in the I don't know what the hell I'm doing half the time, more than half the time. I feel like I'm perpetually lost. When I go back and read old journals, I watch old things of myself, the way that I talk about how lost I am in life, I just am forever lost. This is about a woman who goes to her college reunion, and it's that kind of thing where like everybody around her is doing so well, and she was like, I guess I didn't get the memo, and it turns out there actually was a memo. So she gets a second chance at this reunion. So feels like a little Rebecca Searle, not supernatural, but like that mystical, that's not the right word. You guys know what I mean. So reality, but like with a twist, kind of a thing. Okay, next up, I am torn over which pile to put this in. So this is Presumed Innocent by Scott Turow. I read this years ago. I had a mass market paperback, like the one with the thumbprint on it, and obviously unhauled it somewhere along the way. I mean, my entire library was basically mass market paperbacks for a long time. And I have repurchased it because the Jake Gyllenhaal show caught all my attention. I haven't watched it yet. I talked about this in my vlog. I never want to assume everybody's watched everything I've ever done. But my grand plan was like, I'm going to read the book, I'm going to watch the Jake Gyllenhaal, and then I'm going to watch the Harrison Ford movie again. I don't know exactly what order we're going to do stuff in. We will see. But I did repurchase it. So technically I've read it already. I'm putting it in the red pile. I just repurchased it. So in case you don't know, this is about a man who's, I want to say he's a district attorney or assistant district attorney. What are you, Rusty? Do we even know what Rusty is? He's an assistant prosecutor. Takes place in Chicago. So he is having an affair with a lawyer from the prosecuting attorney's office. She winds up murdered, and he becomes the prime suspect. And yes, I don't know if the Jake Gyllenhaal show differs from the Harrison Ford movie in terms of like ending or anything. Don't want to know. The movie was fantastic. The book is fantastic. So stay tuned. I will reread it. Okay, let's just build up the I haven't read this yet list. This is another one of my pre-orders. This is Two Sides to Every Murder by Danielle Valentine. I read, what was last year's book? How to Survive Your Own Murder, which was a wink nod love story for Scream. Super bloody. This is YA. That book was massively bloody. Surprised me. Loved it. I have high expectations for this one. So this is Welcome Back to Camp Lost Lake, home to the most infamous murders this town has ever seen. A new generation of campers and an all too familiar killer. So stay tuned. I'm excited to read this. I have been living in the new release land as of late, but I want to get to this one because I feel like it's a perfect summer book. And I've been trying to do some summer book recommendations on my Instagram, I almost said channel, so that would be a perfect one. Okay, let me show you something I've read. Okay, read it, reviewed it, you would have seen all of it by now. I've talked ad nauseum. Middle of the Night, Riley Sager, girl's best friend. I got the Libro FM ARC, listened to it. Obviously I had pre-ordered the book, so I love him. He's gonna look beautiful on my shelf. I really enjoyed this book. I was just talking to a friend of mine from work who just finished it. We had a very good conversation about it. And I'm just a really huge fan of Riley Sager, like you guys know. So this one takes place in two timelines. This is the first time he has a male POV, not counting, because I don't really count the male POV from Home Before Dark, the dad who wrote the book, because we see the book, but it's different than this is. But Ethan and Billy, when they were kids, they were camping in Ethan's backyard. Ethan wakes up in the tent, Billy is gone, he's never found. And all these years later, Ethan makes a reluctant return home, and weirdness starts occurring, and he needs to figure out what's going on. So, never met a Riley Sager book I didn't like. That one was fantastic. Okay. I'm not one to make big, bold predictions, but I feel like I've low-key already made this as a big, bold prediction. Part of Big Book Summer, God of the Woods, generously gifted to me from Book of the Month. Could not have been happier about it. This book, this is like the TLDR, read it. Just read it. So Missing Camper, Missing Girl, as I was talking about with Dervla McTiernan, love a missing person. This book blew me away. Literary crime fiction, definitely a little bit out of my normal wheelhouse. Main story is 1975, but we go all the way back to the 50s and have markers of different timelines leading up to 1975. Huge cast of characters, like expertly executed. The writing is beautiful. The mysteries are solid. There's a past and present mystery. So in this one, present day, camper Barbara is missing from her bunk when the book opens. And she's not any 13-year-old. She is also, is she 13 or is she 14? 13. She is the daughter of the family who runs the camp, owns the camp, created the camp. So she is like super high profile. And as if that's not bad enough, several years ago, 14 years ago, I want to say, her brother also vanished without a trace and was never found. So we get we get multiple timelines, multiple POVs, multiple mysteries, such a satisfying, just expertly executed book. And I have heard, thank you very much from my subscribers, not to my subscribers, from community here, that the audiobook is also fantastic. So do not miss this book. Do not miss this book. One of my favorite books of the year. That was my prediction. Did I say that? That's one of my predictions. Okay. Haven't read it yet. If you watched the vlog, you saw me talk about this one as well. This is No Road Home by John Fram. He wrote The Brightlands. Maybe you can actually see it this time. And I'm very excited to read this. So Kate told me she definitely thought I was going to love this. This was a pre-order of mine. Have not gotten to it yet. And I'm going to. So we've got a single father who is remarried, super protective of his son. And it sounds like his new father-in-law is kind of a monster. So we get a bit of a monster in the house situation. We get weather. They are in Texas. And I think they get cut off from the roads. And the monster new father-in-law is found murdered. Bum, bum, bum. Can't wait. Okay. Geez, have not read any of these. Okay, next up, this was also gifted to me. This is from St. Martin's. This is Writing an Identity Not Your Own, a guide for creative writers. And this was written by Alex Temblador. So, love me a craft book. I am definitely writing identities that are not mine. So this is a practical guide to help authors authentically write and edit a character whose identity is different from their own. So it gives you the tools to write and edit a character. I haven't started this yet. I am deep in the revisions, edits of my book. I am very aware of the fact that I am not as close to polished as I thought I was in this draft. So so I need to go back in. And I think this is one of those books that's going to be really helpful because I do have characters that are not me. So I'm very curious to read this book. I'm excited to read, especially like, I find like it's so easy to fall into tropes and stereotypes about things. I wrote a book years ago. It's the book that I wrote before this one that I lived in for way too long. And I mean, the book I'm on now has like lived about 17 different lives, but I was writing, there was a police officer in my last book, which I still feel like has some merit to it, but that's a story for a different day. Anyway, when I was editing it, like, I mean, I 1000% like had him at Dunkin' Donuts, like having coffee and donuts. And it's like, when I was rereading it, I was like, why am I, this is so cliche. Like, put him at the tea shop on Newbury Street, it took place in Boston. I was like, why is he at Dunkin' Donuts? Stop it, Audrey. So every once in a while you need a reality check of like, wow, you just accidentally fell into the biggest stereotype ever. You all are probably like, wow, her book is going to be terrible. Let's hope not. So anyway, very excited about this. Love a craft book. Totally just sounds like something fell over the ghost of Christmas past. And we'll see what happens. But thank you, St. Martin's. Girl loves a craft book. Okay. My piles are not good. Okay, book I read. So I have not formally reviewed this at the time of filming, but you will have seen this on Instagram by now if you happen to make your way over there. Okay, The Wedding People by Alison Espach. I loved this book. Also generously gifted by Book of the Month. I partnered with them for August, and this is part of the partnership. This book was on my radar. I I get very excited when books that I obviously am really excited about show up as a book of the month selection. So excited to see this one. I also had the Libro FM audiobook arc of this. I'm like making a phone call, audiobook arc of this. So I did a combination of reading and listening because this was a book I wanted to live in. This book was so good. This is definitely I am so lost. I don't know what to do next. Fresh start, unexpected turns, just, I want to have an experience like this. Like, I don't totally need Phoebe's life, but there are elements to it that I was like, ooh, why can't that happen to me? Why can't that opportunity happen for me? And I don't want to give away anything ever, but I will say the book jacket in this book. So here's a hot take. Not only does it not give too much away, it also does not indicate some of the very dark subject matter in this book. So this book is both darkly humorous, laugh out loud funny, relatable in so many different ways. But the darkness, I would check the triggers on this. I would 1000% check the triggers on this. Nothing bothered me. Again, I am seldomly triggered by something, but I don't feel like you're prepared for the darkness that could take somebody off guard going into it. But I loved this. So this takes place in Newport, and our main character, Phoebe, arrives at the Cornwall Inn in a green dress and gold heels, not a bag in sight. So this is a place her and her husband were always going to come to. This is like 2 years after the pandemic, I want to say. Some travel plans got changed, not by choice. So she winds up showing up, and she finds out, there was sort of like a little bit of a snafu, I guess, that she is the only person registered at this hotel who is not part of the wedding. And she's not one of the wedding people. And no sooner does she get there that she winds up meeting the bride kind of in the elevator, and they form this connection, and the bride is a lot. And she is there for like a 6-day destination wedding extravaganza, and Phoebe gets pulled into the wedding festivities. This is a book that I really, again, like, if you're concerned about triggers, check the triggers. I also recommend going into it knowing little, because I think it's just such a delight to read this. It's heavy, but it's so light and funny at times. The humor is so good. This is not her first book. Shame on me. I have not heard of her before. I definitely want to go back and check out some of her older books. And I just absolutely loved this. The characters were so well written, so realistic, like totally came to life for me. And I thought it was just a complete, I was going to be like, it's a banger. Who am I? What am I talking about right now? But she wrote 2 other books, Notes on Your Sudden Disappearance, which is the book I have been eyeing on Pango right now, and another book called The Adults. So stay tuned, we'll see. I do love me a little bit of New England, you guys know. So this is Newport, which I've been to a couple of times, and it's just fun and funny and fantastic. I loved it. Totally loved it. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the books. All right, next up, this is a book I have just started. This is called Men Have Called Her Crazy by Anna Marie Tendler. This is a memoir. I'm like barely into it. I'm in the first chapter. I'm kind of dipping my way in and out as I read something else, which I'll talk about in a minute. And I saw this on Hillary Burton Morgan's Instagram, aka Peyton Sawyer, and about 1,000 other things. And I had not had this book on my radar till I saw her posting about it. So this is definitely dark, triggery, possibly not for everybody, but if you're looking for a memoir, I think about women and mental health and some, I'm just going to read what's on the inside of it. I'm like, why am I going to try and even do it? So the beginning of the blurb, so it says, in early 2021, popular artist Anna Marie Tendler checked herself into a psychiatric hospital following a year of crippling anxiety, depression, and self-harm. Over a 2-week period, she underwent myriad psychological tests, participated in numerous therapy sessions, connected with fellow patients, and experienced profound breakthroughs, such as when a doctor noted, quote, "There is a you inside that feels invisible to those looking at you from the outside." So she recounts her hospital experience, pivotal moments in her life that came before and after her hospital experience, And it says, as the title suggests, many of these moments are impacted by men. Unrequited love in high school, the 29-year-old she lost her virginity to when she was 17, the frustrations and absurdities of dating in her mid-30s, and her decision to freeze her eggs as all her friends were starting families. So I do think this is going to be dark. I do think there's going to be a lot of power to this book. This is not a tell-all memoir. I think a lot of people thought that was going to happen, and I'm just really interested in it. So it's giving me, not to make a quick snap judgment, but it's giving me a little bit of Girl Interrupted vibes, but I'm very curious to read this. I've heard fantastic things about it. I am definitely heavily under the influence of my One Tree Hill ladies, and I am just really curious. So far, like I said, I'm only a chapter in. It reads really quickly, and I'm very curious to read it. So I picked that up. I'm going to put this in the currently reading pile and try to make the other ones not so bad. Okay, pre-orders. A lot of these are pre-orders. Okay, I got The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. I talked about this in my August new releases, I think. So this is the limited edition Purple Ends. She's beautiful. So Red, White, and Royal Blue was absolutely fantastic. That is my love story with Casey McQuiston. That was the first book of theirs that I read and loved, and I'm excited for this. So this is about Theo and Kit. They had a brutal breakup on a flight to their dream European food and wine tour. The tickets were good for a couple years, so they both wind up kind of back on the tour, not expecting the other one to be there, and they both kind of start competing for a wager to see who can sleep with their hot Italian tour guide first. So Kid is game, and it says, why stop there? Why not a full-on European hookup competition? But sometimes a taste of everything only makes you crave what you can't have. I am very curious to read this. I think it's going to be funny and heartwarming and probably heavy at sometimes, kind of like how Red, White, and Royal Blue was. And I just found the humor in that so perfect, and I loved those characters. And take me all over Europe. There is like a little bit of a map in the front. So we get London, Paris, Bordeaux, Nice, Barcelona, Monaco, Palermo, Florence, Chianti, Rome, Naples. Take me on the trip I'm not going on this year. Where does this one go? This one goes here. Okay. Or we're in a year. Okay. Next up, Steve Kavanaugh, Witness 8. This is the UK edition. This comes out in the US in 2025, but it's me. I went to Blackwell's. I bought a book. This is part of the Eddie Flynn series. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't think you need to read them in order. I didn't. So take that for what it is. Just double checking. No fancy covers on this one. And here we have Ruby Johnson. She is a nanny and a maid to wealthy families in Manhattan's West 74th Street. She knows their routines, their secrets. And one night on her way home, Ruby witnesses a neighbor's murder. I don't know why I always say that word that way. She knows the victim. She knows the killer. And she makes an anonymous call to the police and names the murderer. But Ruby didn't tell the truth because there's something wrong with Ruby Johnson. Steve Kavanaugh's brilliant. And then we have Eddie Flynn, con man turned trial lawyer, must defend an innocent man accused of this terrible crime. As Ruby's deadly game begins, one thing is certain. It won't be the last murder this witness is involved in. Yes, please. I love him. I just think he writes smart, fast-paced, dark and messed up thrillers. He is my friend. He's not my friend, but you know what I mean. He's like a Peter Swanson to me. Like, just can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Okay. Next up, this was gifted to me from Berkley. This is Talking to Strangers by Fiona Barton. Did not expect this. Super excited about it. The opening of a package, like it's Christmas, just gets me giddy. So this comes out the end of August. It should be out by the time you guys see this video. If not, it's coming out not long after that. This is Detective Inspector Elise King investigates a woman's murder while a reporter tries to beat her to the punch. I haven't read a Fiona Barton book in a minute. I read The Widow years ago, really enjoyed it. It's funny, I was talking about it in the August new releases, and I was like, but I feel like I've read so much else by her. She is someone I've listened to a lot of writing podcasts with, about craft, how she writes, how she develops her characters. So I'm super excited for this. So thank you, Berkley. I'm just into this. So this is going to be like a bit police detective investigation. And then Kiki, who is our reporter, is also doing her investigation. I had a friend growing up whose name was Kiki. Her name was Kirsten, but we called her Kiki. And I don't think I've heard that in forever. And I instantly, and of course, gonna picture her as this character. So go Kiki, go. Okay, another pre-order. This is The Grandest Game. This is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is like an offshoot of the Hawthorne Inheritance Game series. I did not wind up reading The Brothers Hawthorne, which I bought last year, but I haven't read it yet. I pre-ordered this. It's a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, which I think this cover's white, and I think other editions are not a white cover. I don't think there's anything else special about it. Not that I'm saying that in like a dingy way. Maybe there's an extra, oh yes, there's a bonus deleted scene at the end of this. Anyway, the cover I think is what makes it like super different. I need to read the Hawthorne Brothers one first. I think I'm a little bit not over this series, but I'm not as jazzed as I was before. I really enjoyed the Inheritance Game trilogy, but then I just got distracted by other bright, shiny things. So I'm going to read it, but I definitely have not read it yet. Haven't read it yet. Okay. I don't have anything else for the win. Oh, geez. Okay. Another arc that I got. This is Very Bad Company by Emma Rosenblum. So this is Flatiron Books. They were doing like a clean the closet or something they called it. They had sent emails out and was just sort of like, basically like, we're cleaning out our closets. Anybody want some of these arcs that we have? So I just got this like within the last month. I haven't read it yet. She wrote Bad Summer People, which I read last year and had a good time with. This one is like a really bad group of people who work together at a company. It's a team of wealthy executives on a retreat in Miami where the stakes are high and the drama's even higher. So it's compared to White Lotus in a lot of ways. And I will let you guys know when I read it. I'm excited about it. I do love a like corporate retreat, work people behaving badly kind of a story. I don't feel like there's enough of those going around. So a little bit like One by One by Ruth Ware, and we'll see what happens. But I'm expecting it to be sort of dark working, like rich working people behaving badly, dark people behaving badly. Rich working people doing dark and messed up things. Okay. And then, because when I was buying the next book, let me go backwards. Okay. I'll save this one for next. In the, hi, my name is Audrey and I'm influenced by everybody around me. Jordy from Jordy's Book Club had posted some stuff like he always does, and I was perusing it like I always am. And I caught a glimpse of a stunning UK cover of a book that was kind of catching my attention here, but kind of like God of the Woods, which Jordy heavily influenced my interest in. I was like, I'm not sure if that's in my wheelhouse. I'm not sure if that's for me. Then I saw him post the book and I was like, excuse me, sir, that's a gorgeous UK cover of a book. So I went on Blackwell's. It was out of stock. I was sad. Then it came back in stock and then I bought it. And it is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. Also part of Big Book Summer. This book weighs a ton. This rainbow-esque cover, which I had to have it. I was even like, I don't even know what it's about at this point. I don't even care. Gillian Flynn says it hits like a sledgehammer and it's an absolutely must-read novel. Alex Michaelides says it's a book you lose yourself in, a huge achievement. I mean, my people, Patricia Cornwell's on the back of this, a whole bunch of other people, Lucy Foley. And then I was like, all right, I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I am stretching outside my zone. You guys, so this came, I was jazzed. Wait for it. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, this might not be a surprise. For those of you who are just here for the video content. End paper number 1. What? What? So this is like the forest and the trees. End paper number 2. What? What is happening? I lost my mind. I lost my mind. I don't remember the last time I saw such absolutely stunning end papers, and I did not expect them. I was happy with this. And then that happened. I have issues. I'm like, what is this 9,000 page book about? It's like another almost 600 page book. Who am I? I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am anymore. Okay. But if you're like, I don't even know what it's about, Audrey, talk to me. Late one summer, the town of Montclair is shattered by the abduction of teenager Joseph Patch Macaulay. Nobody more so than Saint Brown, who will risk everything to find her best friend. But when she does, it will break her heart. Patch lies alone in a pitch-black room until he feels a hand in his. Her name is Grace, and though they cannot see each other, she lights their world with her words. But when he escapes, there is no sign she ever existed. Left with only her voice and her name, he paints her from broken memories and charts an epic search to find her. As years turns to decades and hope becomes obsession, Saint will shadow his journey on a darker path to hunt down the man who took them and set free the only boy she ever loved, even if finding the truth means losing each other forever. I feel like the synopsis of this book is a journey. So I've heard fantastic things about it. I'm not at all familiar with Chris Whitaker, haven't read any of the previous books, great awards on the back, and stay tuned. So I will get to this at some stage. Long story short, so I was buying that, and while I was there, I was like, what else is new and exciting that's come out in the UK that you can't get here yet? So I got The Dead Friend Project by Joanna Wallace. The post-it note. It says everyone needs a hobby. If you watch my vlog where I was like, lots of little right actions, this one is everyone needs a hobby. This is The School Run Can Be Murder. Things haven't been going well for Beth. Her husband has left her, her fellow school mums judge her for swearing, and now she's stuck in A&E on the first day of school. In fact, things haven't been going well for Beth since Charlotte died, her best friend and the only person to ever run an interesting PTA meeting. But after being hit by a car while on an ill-timed evening jog, Charlotte is no longer there to help Beth pick up the pieces of her increasingly difficult life. That is, until Beth discovers that Charlotte left her toddler alone in the house during that fatal run. Sus. The Charlotte she knows would never do something so irresponsible, and suddenly Beth is questioning whether Charlotte's death was really an accident. With a newfound purpose and a glass of wine in hand, it's time for Beth to uncover what really happened to her best friend, once she's put the kids to bed, of course. So this kind of sounds a little dead to me. Christina Applegate, Linda Cardellini, James Marsden, you guys know I love it. And it's also like, it's like tugging something else that I can't connect, but it sounds like good dark humor. It almost feels like a little, I don't know why I'm picturing like Christina Applegate from Bad Moms being like the nightmare PTA lady also. I don't know, we'll find out. Also feels a little Fleabag. Also feels a little Fleabag to me. We'll see. I don't know anything about this. The cover title caught my eye and I just went all in because it's not even like there's a shipping threshold to meet at Blackwell's. I just can't leave with just one. Okay, 2 more books to go. One I haven't read, one I am currently reading. Not reading, haven't read, is Like Mother, Like Daughter by Kimberly McCreet, the last book that was gifted to me from Book of the Month. And she is a thriller writer. I have not yet read this one. This is, I talked about it in the August video. This came out at the end of July. This is about a mother and daughter. So her daughter is a student at NYU. Mom lives in Brooklyn. Daughter comes home for like one of their Friday night dinners. Mom is nowhere in sight, but there's food on the stove and like her shoes are there and something's not quite right. And her mom is basically trying to protect secrets and lies and things from coming out. This is one of those books where I'm like reading it through my fingers. I don't want to know too much. So Kat has a past that she's been trying to protect her daughter Cleo from. Worlds are going to collide. Okay, my unread pile. It ain't good, guys. It ain't good. Okay, and last but not least, gifted to me by Berkley. So excited. We Love the Nightlife by Rachel Collar Croft. By the time you see this video, this book will be out in the universe. I am feverishly reading it to get it read before it comes out in the universe. I just started it last night. Well, she's got some work to do. She wrote Cold Stone Fox. Editing Audrey here. She wrote Stone Cold Fox, not Cold Stone like the creamery. I kind of can't right now. All right, moving on. Last year, which I definitely enjoyed. Again, I have just started reading this book. I am only 60 pages in and I am already like loving it. The writing is fantastic. The characters are fantastic. The snark, the dark humor, again, like in the wheelhouse. So this is about 2 women locked in a toxic female friendship. Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. 2 vampires careen towards a catastrophe. So it is London 1979, and two women with a deep love of disco meet one fateful night on the dance floor, changing the course of their lives forever. So Nicola is a beautiful and brooding vampire for nearly 2 centuries, and she can't resist the fun-loving and feisty Amber from America, ultimately offering her an eternity together, where the glamour of the nightlife always takes center stage, but not is all as it seems. So we are meeting Amber's POV in present day, which is 50 years later, and it says, after an unexpected betrayal, Amber wants out from under Nicola's thumb. But Amber realizes it won't be so simple to break the festering friendship when she learns others have done the same and wound up dead. So Nicola kind of senses there's a little bit of restlessness going on. She's making one last dig to hold on to Amber and suggests they open a nightclub of their very own, hearkening back to their best days as disco queens. Amber agrees, but she's secretly hatching a dangerous escape plan, and if she fails, the party is over for good. So far we are seeing Nicola in 1979 and Amber 50 years later. I'm totally in on this. I've heard fantastic things from people who have had arcs of this for months and months and months. Lots of good buzz on the back of it from lots of people that I love, including Ashley Winstead. Under the influence of Ashley Winstead always. Ashley Winstead always. Okay, so that is it. That is all I've got. All I've got. That sounds obnoxious. Okay. So 2 current reads. Let me do some counting. 7 read and 15 unread. So 15 unread and 9 read and in progress. Trying to make it sound better. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I am eternally grateful for the generosity of having these books, of being gifted these books. And I will continue to keep you guys updated as I read them and post reviews on them and talk about them here. So I am a smidge behind in filming a recent reads. The last one that went up that had like the Riley Sager and Peter Swanson and stuff in it, that was filmed the first week of July, I want to say, like right after 4th of July. So I have about 5 weeks of books to catch up on. The timing of when videos get posted and done, it's all just, YouTube math stuff. Anyway, it'll be there when it's there. So thank you everybody for being here. Didn't even plan that. Look at how that worked out. But I hope everyone's doing great. Let me know if you're picking up any books. I'm trying to not. I really, really, really want. I was talking to somebody at work yesterday, somebody more senior than me, who we have a fantastic relationship. But I was explaining something about our client, and I was like, at the risk of quoting the Spice Girls, I'll tell you what they want, what they really, really want. And he was like, how long have you been waiting to do that? And I was like, it just came to me. This is just how my brain works. But there is a book that I really, really want. I have been eyeing The Winner by Teddy Wayne since it came out, and I'm being stingy about the cost of it, which I hear me. But I am trying not to, as I look at this pile of books, buy a book that I'm not going to read immediately. And I would just like to state for the record that this came out the other day and I started to read it immediately. So I'm trying to do that. Don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm trying to have an ounce of self-control, and we will collectively laugh the next time I sit here surrounded by books. And that's just what's going on. So next project is going to be continue the Unhaul, which I have sidelined for a bit along with a whole bunch of other things because I'm trying to spend my time writing my own book that hopefully somebody someday will sit on the floor of their house and do a book haul and hold up, title which I will not disclose because I am super just paranoid about it. Not paranoid about it, superstitious about it. Anyway, people's titles change all the time. Not that I think it's like so fantastic somebody's going to steal it, but anyway. All that to say, I hope everyone is doing fantastic. I hope you guys are having a great summer and reading great books. Have you found a contender for your favorite book of the year? I'm hard pressed to like give a number 1, but this is definitely top 10. Top 5 as of now. I mean, we'll see where the year shakes out, but one of my best books of the year. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna make 2 predictions. She also will be in top 5. Just absolutely mind-blowing. Fantastic. Fantastic. So she might be there too. Okay. That's it. I'm gonna go. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, you are fantastic. And I will see you in the next video. I have no idea what it's going to be because I've got nothing in the backlist. But when it comes out, we'll figure it out together. Okay, bye.